Wizards Postgame Live.
On February 28th, these two teams saw each other down in Atlanta, and it was a late-minute heroic for the Wizards to walk away with the win off a Trae Young miss. Tonight, the opposite was true. Trae Young and the Hawks came into town. 28 for Trae, 17 for DeJounte Murray, but a season-high 43 points for Kristaps Porzingis, albeit in a loss. Final score 122-120. The Wizards take a loss to the Atlanta Hawks. They will be seeing them again on Friday. So this is going to be a rather different post-game live here on ABC Sports Washington. Chris, Drew, and Megan will be joining us in a moment. But Christy Winter-Scott, a lot to talk about. I already gave you KP's scoring. Tonight, Brad had 24. Kuz had 25. These three did their job tonight, albeit in a loss.
Absolutely, but you have to take care of the basketball. And that's the number one thing tonight that I saw. 19 turnovers. Atlanta scored 20 points off of those. And when you have 34 assists on 47 made shots, you're maximizing all of the offensive possessions when you take care of the ball. So all of those empty possessions, they added up in this close game. So on Friday, they cannot do that, obviously. But it was unforced errors. I thought there were miscues on the offensive side in the quarter court. But then their transition game, I thought they weren't in sync in terms of where the ball needed to go, like get it to the corner and then fill the paint. I just think there were some unforced turnovers that did them in tonight.
Chrissy, I know I've said this last season. It was kind of, the Chris Miller rule, which was first to 120, and then they made some rules that allowed people to play defense. And so the scores came back down. But there was a rule that I always talked about, which was if you score 30 over 3 quarters, you should win the game.
Sure.
Who do you think did that tonight? Atlanta. They scored 30 in 3 different quarters. The Wizards had a 33-point second quarter, and they came out in the third quarter and gave you 33. But it was those first and fourth quarters where they dipped under 30. And Atlanta, they've got shooters over there. Kevin Huerter's a shooter. Trae Young's a shooter. You can't leave those guys open.
You can't. And Trae Young was setting the table up so perfectly. I don't know how many lobs they had, but a lot of them were from Trae Young. Ice Trae came in and did what he was supposed to do. So I think they're 8 days into Quinn Snyder being their head coach. They're still trying to find their identity with his philosophy. So they're still trying to iron some things out. But I think, if Washington would have taken better care of the ball and maximized their possessions, I think they would have been on the better side of this game. But Atlanta was clicking on all cylinders, and they were getting the job done defensively and disrupting Washington in terms of getting them to turn the ball over and score those 20 points off of those 19.
It's interesting because, again, we're going to see the same team in a couple of days, and I look at today's box score, and, of course, just my eyeballs telling me, when you see Porzingis go for 43 points, 5 boards, 5 assists.
Big.
Now, mind you, he's a unicorn, but he was 6 for 9 from deep tonight.
Insane.
Excuse me, 7 for 10 from deep tonight.
He made
Let me
that
make sure I
one.
give this man all his flowers tonight.
7 of them.
What do you make of his performance tonight, knowing that he had Brad and Kuz on the court with him?
Well, I thought he was phenomenal. I thought he was hunting his shot. And when I say that, he wasn't like, give me the ball every single time down. But I thought he spaced the floor really well. I thought he found the spots on the court where he knew the team needed him. He was in the corner when they needed him to space the court out in transition. He was able to put the ball on the floor and use his 7-3 frame to shoot over top of people. What I like most is for all players to get downhill and attack. But when you're 7 of 10 from 3, by all means, lift and flick it from 3 and knock it in. I mean, 17 of 22 from the floor. I mean, he probably should have taken 30 shots if he's making them at that clip.
70%, yeah, I'll let you do it.
Keep shooting.
Like, for me, the thing was, now, he wasn't the only one. I mean, he gave you, like you said, 70% from 3. But Kyle Kuzma also gave you a 25-10 double-double. Let's bring in Chris and Drew and get their thoughts on it tonight. Again, my friends who gave it to me in the crossover, so now they join us on postgame. Again, guys, great call tonight. But last night, what did we say? We said a win is a win. Drew, the opposite side of that same core, a loss is a loss.
Yeah, in my experience, when there's must-win games or must-win situations, there's no set rotation. If it's a playoff game or if it's a championship game, there's no set rotation. Your playing time is dictated through flow. Coaches put guys in because of the flow of the game, and what's at stake. How much we've been talking how important this game was. That fourth quarter, I really meant it with my chest. I've been seeing this over and over again. The starters kind of getting in too late to close out games. The Wizards, you got the stat. Can you read that stat?
This is the 7th time that they've had a 15-point lead or more and lost it.
Did you hear that? The
7th time they've had a 15-point lead or more and they've lost.
And this is the most in the NBA?
Yeah.
Okay, so when does it become insanity where you keep doing the same? it ain't about guys' feelings. It's about winning the game, you know. And I thought at the beginning of the fourth quarter, and I said it twice, this is a great moment. I might get this group one more possession on both ends, and then I got to come in with my big three and some heat. That didn't happen, but what happened was a 14-0 run.
I think Christie said it, and I think it's really the only point that I'm going to make. I want to be brief, guys. You can't turn the ball over 20 times, and 2 of your best players accounted for 10 of them. We could talk about how much scoring Porzingis, Beal, and Kuzma did tonight, but they also gave the opposition a lot more opportunities. Can't turn it over 20 times. That has been the recipe all season long for this team when they've struggled to lose games. And Drew just talked about it, really the importance of tonight's ball game. Yes, you're going to see them again Friday. You'll see them one more time down in Atlanta in April. But this is go time now. This time of the year is about doing some things that might not be conventional to do whatever it takes to win ball games.
All right, guys, so let's go ahead and look down the road, and I mean, albeit a couple of hours from now, 36 hours. How do we solve this ball control turnover issue? Drew first, then Christie. Let's get this thing solved right now. Drew, what do you say?
Listen, they got enough to win. I think they need to really dissect set rotations in the flow of the game and take it from there. You did enough tonight. Even with the turnovers, you had a 15-point lead. I mean, look how many guys. These guys combined for a season high 92 points. You got 100 points from 3 guys. What more do you need? I think right now with the Wizards, it's between the ears. It's nothing physical. I think it's what they want to do with their heart and their brain mentally. If they really want it, give themselves a chance, but it's going to start between the ears.
It's urgency for me. I mean, you have to have a sense of urgency on every single possession and win that moment and then stack those moments, right? And I think, Drew, what you said, I was over here. If I had a church fan, I would have been fanning it. I was over here snapping. It is a flow, and it is attitudinal. It is about your approach. It is about your focus and your intention. And I think at stretches tonight, Washington just lost their focus and had those miscues and those turnovers, but then don't repeat it, right? You're talking about those games where it was 15-point leads and we've not won in those games. I think it's also on these possessions. It's like, okay, we just turned it over, but now let's not do the same thing again, right? Within the microcosm of what this game presented for Washington, which was a great opportunity here at home to get a win, to gain some traction for this playoff push. So I think when you're talking about attitude, I think everyone wants to win, okay? But everyone's not already doing what they need to do to win on possession by possession moments in this game. And I think that's when you lose that traction.
No, indeed, indeed. Chris and Drew, since we're going to see this same team in a couple of days, I'm going to let you guys go early. Take a break, take a relaxer, and we'll see you Friday against the Atlanta Hawks back here in Cap One Arena. Christy, you and I, we get to continue this conversation because I'm about solutions, right?
Same.
Like we said, win is win, loss is loss.
Same.
But this is one of those games, as Drew said it, we have really emphasized the importance of this particular matchup. We knew that the last one came down to the wire last time we saw Atlanta, so we knew that they were going to come in here with a little bit of extra sauce on it.
Absolutely.
Tonight, we're not having a good shooting game from beyond the arc, except for the unicorn.
Right.
So now my thing is this. How do we get everybody involved? Because if you look at the box score on the bench, Wizards only scored 17 off the bench.
Right.
The rotation wasn't even that deep. There's a lot of guys. Kendrick Nunn's a DMP, Anthony Gill, DMP, Johnny Davis good at DMP. We've got to get the most out of what we have. My question is, as a coach, as a former player, how do you maximize what seems to be in-season playoff climate minutes and moments on the court?
Well, it's not the playoffs yet, but boy, you're building towards that, right? So your mentality also has to be on par with what is at stake. So I think as a former player, as a coach, I think for me, it's all about your attitude. It's all about your want to. A lot of people do things because they have to do things, like I have to do this. But when you want to do it, it's done in a different way. When, in terms of your mentality, in terms of your fire and your fight, you have to dig it out of the mud sometimes. It's not going to be handed to you, and this is not an indictment. And I'm sure they're in the NBA for a reason. They're pros. They get it. They understand that.
Best of the best.
But it has to be sustained. Like, we saw flashes of it, but it must be sustained. If that's who you are, then be that all the time. Don't show it sometimes throughout a game and then not at other points in the game, especially down the stretch. Those turnovers were so costly down the stretch, Wes.
No, it's a lot.
It was crippling. And so when you have those moments that you can pull yourself up by the bootstraps and go ahead and dig in and say, listen, we're not going to do that again. We have been crippled by these turnovers all evening long, so make sure we're maximizing our great spacing. Make sure we're coming to meet passes. Make sure before you let the pass out of your hands that it's a viable situation for your teammate who's supposed to catch it and to be able to do something with it. Don't throw it because, I have to get it out of my hands, or I'm not going to shoot it right now because I'm not in a flow. Listen, there's a way to do things and there's a way not to.
I think you're speaking about intentionality. Whatever you do, be intentional with it, and the outcome therefore comes with it. So, yeah, no, I totally get your point. I want to bring in Megan and get her thoughts on this as well. Megan McPeak courtside with us from Capital One Arena. Megan, you've heard us kind of all go off about turnovers. You've heard us talk about the high-scoring clip of the big three for us tonight. What do you see that instead of what went wrong, we know that, what do you see besides turnovers that we can improve on for Friday that's going to put us back in the win column?
Something that Wes has said to me pregame throughout this entire season, but especially, I would say, in probably the last 6 to 8 games, your mindset. Christy talked about it. Chris talked about it. Drew talked about it. Your mental fortitude with when they punch back and they make that run, how do you respond? And I thought the mindset, it was there at times tonight, much like it was last night against Detroit. But then there was also stretches, long stretches, when it wasn't there. And going into last night's game, I asked Coach about gaining momentum, knowing that you've got just over 4 weeks left in the regular season. You're trying to, jockey for position between the playoffs and the play-in. Obviously, for him, he would rather be in the playoffs than the play-in situation. But a thing he mentioned was your mindset and how do you withstand what teams are going to do, because it's a game of runs. And last night, when you look at that Pistons game, there was stretches that they did it well. There were stretches tonight that they did it. The process was there, but then there's a run that obviously Atlanta makes, and it doesn't go over more than, a minute and a half to 2 minutes, but that run eliminates your 14-point lead. And all of a sudden now you're in a back and forth shooting expo with Trae Young and DeJounte Murray. But specifically Trae Young, who you go back to that game in Atlanta, he did not have an efficient night. And Bradley Beal said to me after that win in the walk-off, Trae Young is not going to have a bad shooting night like that again.
Nope.
He did not have a bad shooting night like that again against the same team that he had a bad shooting night.
Right.
He didn't have it again. He showed why he is known as Ice Trae. You cannot get into a three-point contest with him when your three-point shooting is not there, with the exception, as you mentioned, Wes, of Kristaps Porzingis. I think the mindset tonight, something that Coach Wes, as I mentioned, has said this the last 6 to 8 games. It was there, but it wasn't there for consistent enough stretches for 48 minutes.
Well, the one person I know who's been locked in mentally is Kyle Kuzma. We saw him come back in the game against Detroit, definitely dealing with that knee, and he bumped knees with somebody tonight, hit the floor a couple of times, taking some really heavy contact. But looking at his box tonight, 25 points, 10 boards, 6 dimes. This man was on a triple-double hunt if he could have got it. If there had been 7 more minutes in this game, Kyle Kuzma probably would have gotten a triple-double tonight. Christy, what do you see about him that lets you know he's got that consistent fire? Because Kyle wants it. This is a man who wanted to be an all-star, was denied it. He knows what it means to be in the postseason because he's got a championship. He wants to pursue greatness for this squad, Christy.
He knows how to win, and he plays with pride. And I think that's the piece that's missing from what we've been saying. Yes, it's attitudinal. Yes, it's the mental fortitude, but it's the pride to compete and win. Every single possession, Kyle Kuzma is going to put pressure on you, whether it's on the defensive end or on the offensive end. He's a 3-level scorer who puts you to sleep when he has the basketball in his hands. So when you have a player like Kyle Kuzma, who shot 10 of 15 from the floor tonight and had double figures in rebounds, but also set his teammates up 6 times, listen, he is dangerous in terms of what he presents for opponents. But there's got to be some extra carryover or some trickle down of that kind of leadership. And maybe it doesn't have to be vocal leadership from Kyle Kuzma. Maybe it's just, let me see how Kyle Kuzma is working tonight. And let's just follow that mold, and let's just follow that energy, because he has a championship ring. So he has the blueprint. He understands it up here.
Megan, you mentioned punching people in the mouth. I think of a boxing illustration where you see two heavyweight fighters knock each other out at the same time. We got them last time. They felt some kind of way and showed up here. They got us this time. We're feeling some kind of way. We'll see you again Friday. That's how this is going, and I love this time of the season. Megan, don't move because we got more coming up here on PostGame Live. Of course, we're going to actually, talk about all access because we heard Kyle Kuzma was all access. Bradley Beal in the film room. Of course, don't forget about Jordan Goodwin, Mike Tubb. We got it all. PostGame Live back in a moment. Hey, Wizards fans, the day after the Wizards score 115 or more points, you can get 50% off regular menu price pizzas at papajohns.com with the code WIZ50. Right now, Wizards fans, head coach Wes Unseld Jr. at the post-game podium.
Some of them were, just kind of over dribbling, kind of playing in crowds. Some were careless. Sometimes, we got rushed a little bit, sped up a little bit. There's a variety of turnovers. I thought that was the biggest hurdle for us tonight.
And it seemed like you went with a especially short rotation. Is that just an example of kind of the stakes that are at play in a game like this?
To some degree. And plus, I thought that those 8 guys were playing pretty well. I know the density of our schedule and, come out in fourth game in 5 nights. I thought the effort was great, and there were a lot of mental lapses that, you'd like to have back. Had opportunities down the stretch, missed 3 or 4 layups, right there at the rim. So we had chances, to go away with it, but it just didn't go in our favor.
Wes, in close games, when you continually go to Brad and try and get a switch or hope that he creates, is your offense too predictable?
I don't think so. There's, of course, moments where it can get like that, but we go to Brad all game, and, he makes play after play for us. So I don't think so. I think there are times we talked about the Milwaukee game where maybe that was an instance. I didn't think it was that tonight. Because we were able to get to the paint. We were able to, like I said, miss 3 layups right there at the rim. So those are possessions, you'll take. So no, I don't think it's that predictable.
Did you consider going to Porzingis more down the stretch, considering how hot he was?
Well, those two are always a 2-man game, and if he decides to space, that's fine because he's obviously shooting the ball exceptionally well. It gives Brad opportunity to get downhill. Brad had 8 assists, so I thought he, did a pretty good job of facilitating for us. And you put the ball in his hands, more often than not, he makes the right decisions.
What do you think just was the theme of mid-third quarter into the fourth? I think they went on like a 32-11 run, 14-0 run. What do you think was?
Well, I thought we got a little lax, when we got up. And then I thought we got a little sloppy. It's one of those things we talked about, the details, and on both ends. And for that little stretch, I didn't think we had that. Came back, the middle of or into the third, start of the fourth, made some plays. KP came in and impacted the game. I thought was great to get us the lead again. But we got to find ways to, minimize those stretches.
What's your message to the team after a game like this?
It's a great effort. I thought we fought. We were competitive. But just that, obviously the turnovers. We had to cut those down, cut down on some of the mental errors, minimize those stretches where I thought we got a little complacent, and I think, that's the next step for us, maturity-wise, that you get a lead, it's regardless of it's 8 to 10 points, whatever it is, whether shots go or not, whether you're making shots, we still got to defend, we still got to do other things, at a high level.
Wes, you guys have been talking.
All right, we're back here with Megan McPeak talking about assists for tonight. Obviously, we talked about the 34 that the Wizards had tonight, but I was looking at the shot chart because I'm a bit of a nerd, and I'm like, hold on, let me look at these numbers and see how these add up. Brad, 8 assists for 19 points created. Porzingis, 7 assists, 15 points created off his dimes. Kuzma, 6 dimes, created 14 points. The big three don't only just put up a ton of points themselves, they're creating other opportunities for other people tonight, Megan.
Without question, and that's kind of what they do when you look at the spacing that they afford the other two guys on the floor when you've got the whole big three together and healthy on the floor as a unit. It's their ability to space the floor and then their ability and willingness to facilitate. So I think when you look at what they've been able to do from a passing standpoint tonight, it's fantastic because if they're willing to pass, it's on the other guys and the rest of the team to make shots and to actually score the hoop. They can only do so much. You cannot rely on them to do every single aspect of the ball game.
Appreciate that, Megan. I want to take Wizards fans to Kyle Kuzma, All Access. We teased it earlier tonight, and this is a moment, something you can only see exclusively here on NBC Sports Washington.
I think my mindset when I'm driving into work every day at Capital One is how can I impact the game from a winning standpoint. Fashion is something I've always done. The outfit was Prada. You know, I think for me, I'm always coming to the games. I'm always in the mindset of look good, feel good, play good.
How you doing? You good?
Mama told me to go and get it throughout the day. I kind of listen to like Baroque music, you know, just old school, classical. You know, closer to the game, I kind of turned up a little bit just so I'm like kind of amped up and ready for the game. So I was probably listening to rap at that point.
Like the letter of a hey. Which way you going? 2 or 100, real quick.
For my workout routine, I try to just focus on things that I'm doing on the court.
So we try and tailor it to the opponent, but for the most part, it's pretty standard. 15 minutes, just get a good sweat in and just get him feeling good before the game. He likes to have a specific way he likes to shoot the ball, and he likes to be held accountable to that way. I mean, the best thing about Kyle is just he holds himself accountable. He's a hard worker.
Working out with Rod is great. He's such a student of the game, and I am too, and I think that's why it's such a great you know, relationship.
Gotcha, kid.
You just never know when it's somebody's first time coming to a game. I always just try to make it a memorable experience.
Here you go. I feel fresh. I'm about to have a game tonight, for sure.
I'm big off vibrations and feeling the vibe in the arena and how I feel. You know, it just felt like a good day.
Dog, what's up, killer? What's up, boy? Get out, kid. Get out, kid. Watch out, watch out. Good patience.
You always have to talk.
Good patience.
That's something that's very, very important in basketball.
Pass, boy, good pass.
I've learned that from some great players. Just going back to my time earlier in my career playing with like the likes of Rajon Rondo, he just would never shut up on the basketball court. He would continuously talk and talk, but you know, as a young player, I saw that and realized, you know, it's helping everybody else.
See if Kyle Kuzma can get it going. Yes, sir.
You just never know when he's going to impact the game. He can make big shots, like, at all times, and he's not afraid to take them.
Kuzma.
He loves the craft of getting better at basketball. He plays hard, he plays defense, he rebounds, and good things happen.
Avdia headed to pack to Kuz. Touchdown, Wizards.
I make mistakes too, I'm human.
Is that me? Not bad.
Holding yourself to a standard and holding yourself for accountability is very important. Being self-aware.
Somebody was behind us, my bad.
You know, I think it's important when you take accountability on yourself, and that allows everybody else in the room to feel that same way.
Danny, no looks to Kuz. Kuz with the lay-in.
I think he's just so well-rounded the way he plays, and he can do so many different things on the court.
Kuzma, left hand, lay-in.
I'm very passionate. I love this game. Anytime I step on the court, I'm trying to win. That's just always been my focus, and always will be.
Kyle Kuzma mic'd up, something we appreciate that. Thank you to the Wizards and Monumental Sports for affording us that luxury of an access. Well, on the other side, Jordan Goodwin mic'd up tonight. You'll hear that when the Wizards post-game live returns. Welcome back to Wizards Post Game Live. Earlier this month, the spouses of Wizards players and coaches, along with members of the Wizards Dance Squad, celebrated Women's History Month by hosting an event at New Endeavors by Women, a DC nonprofit that helps support and improve the lives of homeless women. 20 women were treated to a spa day, complete with hairdressers, manicurists, and makeup artists. The women also enjoyed a catered dinner. Well, today is International Women's Day here, of course, at Capital One Arena. I'm joined by two of the best in the business, Chrissy Winter-Scott and Megan McPeak. Ladies, I'm stepping out of this conversation. The floor is yours. How dare I interrupt your moment to celebrate the beautiful woman that you are?
I mean, the platform that has been created by so many women who have come before us, who sacrificed for these opportunities for us, it's immense. And it never will be lost on me to understand the representation that was there by people like Robin Roberts for me and Cheryl Miller for me, that really paved the way and showed the blueprint on the possibilities of what could be in front. So for us to sit here right now in this moment, and Megan and I do the WNBA's, Washington Mystics as well, but to be in these moments, just to sit and embrace the actual opportunity and to walk and to know that we're on the shoulders of so many who came before us who didn't have the opportunity to knock on doors and they actually opened. But the fact now that there are so many doors that are opening for women to have the actual opportunities. Everyone talks about equality. Yes, there is equality, but there's also opportunity. And I think that has been the biggest step that women have taken in sports over the last several years.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. I was thinking yesterday, obviously day before International Women's Day, and we're in Detroit. The last time I was physically in Little Caesars Arena was 2018. It was like late September, and it was a preseason game between the Pistons and the Wizards. And it was myself and Tony Massenberg calling the game. It was the first time in 30 years that a female had done play-by-play of an NBA game in the preseason. So it was me, which was kind of wild that I was back in that arena with the same teams, same head coach on the other side, and Dwayne Casey, who was there soon after he was let go from the Toronto Raptors. And it was just kind of, you know, nostalgic to me. But to work with Christy on a consistent basis with the Mystics, and now obviously when she's joining us with the Wizards, is always a great time. As she mentioned, Robin Roberts, Cheryl Miller. You think of Doris Burke, you think of Lisa Salters, you think of the women who came before us that were shunned out of locker rooms, who weren't allowed in locker rooms and had to still fight their way to be able to do their job. And for me, it's great that we celebrate women on March 8th every year and through the month of March, but it's also at the same time similar to Black History Month. What are we doing to push the conversation forward so that it's not just 31 days of the year, so that it's not just one specific day of the year? How do we do it 12 months of the year? How do we celebrate and continue to celebrate women 12 months of the year? And it's the people that are in the rooms making the decisions who have the power to continue to push the conversation forward. And to Chrissy's point, the equity and the equality and the opportunities to push them forward. So to see women like Elisa Byington, who will continue her job and role at the NCAA tournament this year as a play-by-play voice and the only female play-by-play voice in the men's tournament. To see Kate Scott, who is also part of the NBA family as well too. Obviously Lisa with the Bucks, Kate with the 76ers, who we will see in Philly on Sunday, but to see them continue to push the conversation forward. It's not about what we've done in the past. The past is the past, and it's why we're here, but I want to know, what are we doing to continue these opportunities for the next generation?
Well, we're right here in front of everyone, and I think that's what we're doing. We're representing for the next generation by sitting here in this moment.
Indeed, both of you, thank you. And I want to shout out all of the wonderful women that work behind the scenes who you don't see here at NBC Sports Washington and Monumental Sports and Entertainment. They do excellent work, and I'm honored to be amongst them. So, ladies, thank you so very much. We promise all access, mic'd up with Jordan Goodwin. Everybody's got a microphone on today. Well, Goody's all mic'd up tonight. Here you go, Wizards fans. Goody with a mic on him.
Hey, I'm mic'd up, I'm mic'd up, I'm mic'd up. Ah. Hey, St. Louis in the house. You feel me? Hey, what up, baby? Good. He gonna protect that rim. Jay gonna protect that rim. Yeah, KP. Yeah, KP. KP just turned me up. KP just turned me up, Gav. Everybody stay healthy, have a good game. Yup, y'all too. Let's go, big bro. Yes, sir. Opa! What do you say? Opa! 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 Oh, KP. Oh, KP. Yeah, Coles. Hey, D-Right. Hey, use that backboard. What's up, Cole? Way to cut, gang. Yeah, Turbo. Yeah, Turbo. We want a challenge? We want a challenge? We want one? All right. All right. Oh, there you go. Gav, I tell you, Gav. Yeah, Gav. Hey, cool. Yeah, cool. Hey, that's tough, KP. That's tough. We need this win. Come on, baby. Go. KP, let's go. Watch out. Good, D, right? Yes, sir. Make our push. Make our push. Make our push. Make our push, baby. Yo, hey. Good pass, KP. Whoa. That was worse than the Brad one. Hey, come on, Todd. Cool. Come on. Come on. Let's go, Denny. Talk to him, Denny. Talk to him, Denny. Talk to him, Daniel. Talk to him. Hey, Cole, come on, baby. Yeah, KP.
Picked up tonight. Well, coming up on the other side, film room, and we're going to take a look back at our best bets. Post-game live back in a moment.
NBC Sports Washington. Your home of the Capitals.
Welcome back, Wiz Kids. Let's take a look at our FanDuel best bets of the night where we make every moment more. Kristaps Porzingis had 35 or more points tonight. Was at plus 900. A $10 bet would have won you $90. Kyle Kuzma with 25 or more at plus 160. A $10 bet would have won you $16. I love that happened. I just wish it would have happened in a win. But I will get over it because we'll see the Hawks on Friday. But you know what we need to do right now, Christy?
What's that?
We need to take the people inside the film room and tell them what you saw tonight.
Walk in here with me, why don't you? Let's go into the film room and check out what the big three did tonight. DeLon Wright has it. Watch Bradley Beal. He's circling. He's trying to find his way. Gaff gets it. And then this action, I love it. It gets Bradley Beal downhill, a handoff action. Clint Capella at 6'10" is trying to be disruptive to contest. Bradley Beal, early lift up over the outstretched arms of Capella. And here we go. In the quarter court, Monte Morris gets it to Kuz. Kuz is going to utilize the screen up top at the elbow extended, and he's going to be able to get downhill. Capella takes it to the chest, and then Kuz is going to walk it off and finish the and one, drawing that contact. And right here, Kristaps Porzingis at 7'3", clogging up that restricted area and protecting the rim. DeLon Wright can get downhill. Now, all the defenders have their eyeballs on DeLon Wright. But you don't see the 7'3" unicorn coming down the lane, barreling himself to the rim for the slam. That is very special, and that's what those three did so well tonight. They got themselves in spaces, in places where they could impact the offense.
Indeed, they did, and they combined for 9 for 19 behind the arc. The rest of the team was 3 for 10 from deep. Megan, my question to you is simply put, I'm glad they did it. My question is, how do they get everybody else activated?
I mean, you guys know, like basketball, some nights the ball goes your way, some nights it doesn't. Tonight, when it comes to the others outside of the big three, the ball unfortunately just didn't go their way. And, you know, it's frustrating because it happened in a loss as well, too. It was, you know, exacerbated when you think of the late game turnovers, the mental mistakes that were also made. But at the end of the day, you control what you can control. And the one thing in basketball that we all know you can't control is if the basketball gods are going to drop the orange ball into the giant orange hoop. We can't control that. You can shoot as good as you can and as perfect as you can. Form, apex, release, timing, all that, feet, footwork, all that can be perfect. But if the basketball gods don't want to reward you by putting the ball in the hoop, that's just, it happens. And it can be frustrating as fans to watch. It can be frustrating even more so as a player and a coach. But at the end of the day, the ball actually going in the hoop is the one thing we can't control.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Hey, when you take shots, you're not making them. You said 3 of 10 for everybody else. Get the ball to the rim, right? Get some action to get you downhill and attack the basket and take layups. Take high percentage shots right outside that restricted area. Get in the paint and finish. If it's not working from outside, you got to go inside.
Sure.
And that's a controllable entity when you're talking about tactical adjustments.
Yeah.
And a tactical adjustment in that regard for those three, right? For those other players, right? Not for the big three because they were knocking them in. But for everybody else, hey, you know what? Let's not take an exorbitant amount of threes at this particular time because tonight it's not working. Okay, so for you guys, let's get you some actions and get you downhill. Let's get you in two-man game. Let's get you some action where you're picking and slipping, or you have a ghost of a screen, and now you can just read that and go. So let's make sure that we're getting set up in the proper places, and that's a read also. I mean, that's a feel on the court as well. So maybe it's not an offensive set per se, but it's a read from your spacing that is predicated upon what you're running on offense.
And Wes, sorry, really quickly, that's exactly what you and I were talking to the legend and Dominique Wilkins about. He said it to us when he played. If I went 0 for 8 to start a game, okay, what am I going to do? Attack. Let me see the ball go in the hoop a couple times. Then all of a sudden, instead of it getting smaller and smaller, the rim gets bigger and bigger. To Christy's point, you become a little bit more comfortable putting the ball up again.
Absolutely.
Staying aggressive. I love it. Right now, Wizards fans and us is included, we've got Kristaps Porzingis at the post-game podium. I'm interested to hear what he has to say tonight after putting up 43.
Honestly, not at all. I just played. I'll say this, I do feel in a better rhythm in the back-to-backs, and I think my stats are way better in the back-to-backs, so that is one thing that I do feel better. But yeah, just played my game. They were giving me open looks, and yeah, just made those shots, and Brad kept finding me, my teammates kept finding me, just made some shots.
We spoke last night about the team's level of hunger, even in losses, and there are some losses you can live with a little bit easier. Was that one of those tonight?
Yes and no. Yes and no, because this is in the world. This is our 4th game in 5 days, but still, we want to get the job done. We want to get the job done, and that wouldn't be a completely different feeling. But we didn't, so we had to live with this and bounce back next game, and at least even the series 1-1.
Kristaps Porzingis at the post-game podium. I want to remind new customers right now, you can get new customers can get 10 times their first bet, up to $200 back in bonus bets, guaranteed. I want you to download the FanDuel Sportsbook app, and start making every moment more. Coming up on the other side, we're getting you ready for Friday night's matchup against Atlanta. Oh yeah, we're not done with the Hawks yet. No, no, no. One more run back on Friday. Post-game live back here in a moment. Welcome back to Wizards Post-Game Live. It was all about the Wes's in the building tonight. Yes, Maryland's Governor Wes Moore putting up some shots, getting buckets, talking to legends. Dominique Wilkins, who is a Baltimore native, by the way. Yes, yeah, Wes Moore, Wes Unseld Jr. is the head coach, and yeah, boy, hosts this show. I'm just saying it's good to be a Wes, but I want to remind everybody, on Friday night, we're back here in action at Capital One Arena, rocking the classic throwback jersey, by the way. So that means pregame live starts at 6:30 on NBC Sports Washington for Wizards Hawks. But right now, I've got Bradley Beal in the postgame locker room discussing a sense of urgency needed at this time of the season.
We gotta go. We gotta go. We know this is a gut check time at this time of the year, and this is like a mini playoff series for us. So, they're competing just like we are, for the spot, and we just gotta understand what's at stake. We understand we can move ahead of them, if we win. But we gotta be locked into that a lot better. But it starts with me. Friday we gotta make sure we're ready to go. I'm ready to go, and that we played well for 48 minutes. I think we did really good for 3 quarters, and the last, I would say the end of the 3rd and 4th was a little nasty.
All right, guys, we got to get ready for Atlanta again on Friday. Christy, different dynamic, all right? Late season implications, we know what it is. How important is it for this team, the Wizards, to come out with a strong first half against Atlanta?
It's ultimately important. They have to come in with a strong sense of urgency in this game, and I'm interested to see if Monte Morris will get back into the starting lineup and have DeLon Wright come off the bench, so there's a spark that he provides, and there's a difference in what they can do on the defensive end. I saw some zone by Washington in the 4th quarter a little bit, but I want to see the adjustments that are going to be made for Friday, especially taking good care of the basketball for Washington.
Same question to you, Megan, except not the first half. That's Christy's. Yours is the second half.
It's got to be ball preservation. You've got to take care of the ball. You're trying to get into the playoffs, whether that's, you get there through the play-in tournament or you just automatically jump teams to finish out the season. Either way, in playoff series, you cannot turn the ball over and give up empty possessions, especially those live ball turnovers. For me, you cannot give up 20 points off turnovers.
There was an old commercial that said we must protect this house. We must protect everything. Keeping the ball is priority number one. It's International Women's Day. Ladies, thanks so much for allowing me to share the spot with you today. Wizards fans will be back on Friday. For Megan McPeak, Christy Winterscott, and for the governor of Maryland, Wes Moore. This is Wes Hall saying we'll see you Friday. Until then, DC above all.